In the previous video, we have created our player and his animations. Now what we need to do is we need to select our player and we need to add a box collider on our player. And we also need to add a rigid body. So here, select the rigid body 2D and also a box collider. Now regarding our box collider, we are going to resize it. So resize it on the y-axis, something like this, and also position it down on the y-axis. And you can, well, see me doing this here in the inspector panel and here for the offset and the size of our box collider. We are also going to resize it on the x-axis and we are going to position it right below the feet of our player. So also resize it a little bit more on the y-axis, position it down, resize it on the x-axis a little bit more, so something like this, and position it below the feet, so somewhere around here, and I'm going to resize it to 0.1 or 0.15 on the x-axis, so 0.15, or he can even be 0.2, and also resize a little bit more down, so let's say -5, or let's say 4.56, okay. Minus 0.46 on the y-axis. So here we are going to position our game object, or excuse me, our collider. So let's say 1.8. So 1.8 is going to be the size for our x-axis, for the y 0.06, and offset for the x-axis is minus 0.06. So here around or below his feet. So something like that. And also I'm going to select our player, and for the mass of our rigid body I'm going to set it at 0.6, and I'm also going to set the linear drag at 0.05 for the rigid body of our player. And also I'm going to click on these constraints and freeze the Z rotation because we don't want our player falling down. If we don't freeze the Z rotation, then our player will fall down and not hold on its own. We can also create here a prefabs folder. So here I'm going to create a prefabs, and here I'm going to create another folder which is going to be our player prefabs, and inside of it we can simply drag and drop our player in order to, well, save him as a prefab. Now we are going to configure our platform. So simply select it right here, and you see that I've unchecked the generate bitmaps, override it, and set the sprite mode to multiple. Open here sprite editor and slice it. So go on slice and click slice and rename this one to platform. So simply name it platform, and this is going to be our platform where we are going to stand. These two we are going to take a look at a little bit later, but at the moment simply name this one platform and hit apply. And now we can simply drag and drop it right here in the scene, and here we have it. And to this one we are going to apply two box colliders. So simply select it and apply box collider 1, and again add component and apply a second box collider to it. Now we are going to tweak our colliders on our platform a little bit. For the second collider we need to set it to be a trigger, and here for the offset X it's going to be at 0.04. And for the offset Y it's going to be at 1.385, and for the size on the x-axis it's going to be 1.13, and for the size on the y-axis 0.06. And for the second collider we can simply reposition or resize it on the y-axis just a little bit. So let's say at 2.82, so something like this, and also resize it on the y-axis, let's say at 1.14, so something like this. And we are going to see a little bit later why we are, well, resizing, or I can show you right now. Basically what we are doing here, because if we position our player, he is going to stand on our platform right now. We see the player is standing, but we also need one, well, collider that's going to be a trigger that's going to detect when we collide with our box in order to, well, make some changes in the code. But if we set the first one to be a trigger, then our game object is simply going to fall through it. That is our player. That's why I added two game objects, and one is going to be a solid game object, so not a trigger, and the other one is going to be a trigger because, well, I just explained it. And the last thing what we can do is go in our prefabs folder and here create our platform prefabs, and here I can say platform prefabs and simply drag and drop our platform to save it here as a prefab.